Hi everyone and welcome to my podcast. You know what I can't stand?
You know what I can't stand? You know what I can't stand? I can't stand.
I'm your host Jabulisile, and this is going to be the first episode of the podcast. I'm actually really excited to be finally starting the podcast. I don't know, guys. This is such a surreal experience. I've been meaning to just get into podcasting for a couple of years now, but then just guababs, guys, just being afraid is just, it holds us back. It really holds us back. But I'm so excited to finally be starting the podcast and just starting it right. So if you've never seen me before or you've never watched any of my YouTube videos, I'm just a human being. There's nothing really special to say. I'm just a human being. I am a 19-year-old female girl from South Africa, and I just wanted to start a podcast and just talk because I have a lot of thoughts going on in my head. I have a lot of opinions. I have a lot of things I want to ask and just get feedback on and see if I'm the only one that thinks the way that I do. So I just really wanted to start off I just really wanted to have a very chilled, I really wanted to have a very chilled I just wanted a very chilled setting. I don't know. There's a lot to say and there's a lot not to say. I'm trying to get used to this. I'm so used to YouTube where I have a specific idea of what's happening with the content. And I'm trying to get a feel of the whole podcast situation because I feel like YouTube and podcasting are starting to become one and the same thing, but not the exact same thing. So I need to figure out what type of podcasting I want to do. But I've been sitting here trying to figure out what to say for the past maybe 2.5 hours. I think I re-recorded this maybe 7 times. And I didn't even get past saying my name. I feel like I need this to be perfect. I don't know why. I just feel like I need it to be perfect at my first go. And that's so unnecessary. That is really so unnecessary. Nothing needs to be perfect at a first try. Sorry about that. I really have to drink some water. But anyway, why do we constantly have to feel like we need things to be perfect? That's kind of something I've been wondering to myself, because I have this pressure. That's actually the need for things to be perfect and for things to go well. That is actually what we're going to be talking about today. Today's topic for today's conversation, I'm going to talk about the pressure that we face and the pressure that we get just to succeed, the pressure to succeed in this generation. Because I believe that it is way too high. Honest to God, it is way too high. I've had so many breakdowns and so many emotional and mental burnouts just from the pressure I feel that I need to do better and just succeed. And I don't know, lately I've been feeling really burnt out and I've been feeling like I'm failing at this whole life thing. Mind you, I'm 19 years old. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I just feel like there's this clock that's just ticking and ticking and ticking, and with every fucking day that goes by that I don't do anything that's achievable or something that's worth anything in the world, I feel like I'm wasting my life. I'm straight out of high school. I finished high school last year, 2022, and honestly, high school was a lot. Anybody who tells you that high school was easy for them is lying. High school was a lot. Most people suffered through high school. If your high school years were enjoyable, and you pretty much went through the perfect high school years, congratulations. You're probably one of the 1%. But the rest of us probably just went through shit. we went through a lot of shit. It was emotional and mental. And high school is meant to be the best years of your life. It's supposed to be the kickstarter to the best years of your life. And I appreciate the lessons I've learned in high school, but I wouldn't say high school was the best years of my life. High school almost took me out. Truly speaking, high school almost took me out multiple times. And I feel like it wasn't just high school in itself, just that age from like 13 to 18. That age literally almost took me out. I can't believe, honestly, I don't even believe I'm still alive. I don't want to get dark or anything, but I just truly don't believe I'm still alive. I didn't really believe that I'd make it to 18, and the fact that I'm at 19 going on to 20 is a miracle to me. Most people, it's not that, but like for me, it's honestly a miracle, especially from having gone through everything that I've gone through. And I feel like I will touch on that on other episodes, but not this one. This one, I don't not we're not gonna go into that deep for the first episode. But anyway, the pressure to succeed in this generation is way too high. The reason I'm saying this is because the standard of success has gotten so unrealistic lately. The standard of success for our parents was finish school if you could, get a job, and start a family, and provide for your family the best way you could. Get a stable job, start a family, and provide for your family the best way you could. That was the standard for our parents' generation. For our generation, on the other hand, the standard has gotten to ridiculous lengths. Like, by the time you're 16, you're supposed to have some type of following. You're supposed to have some type of brand that you can build off, because having more than one career in this generation is ridiculous. You cannot survive over one career. And then besides building a brand, you're supposed to start a brand at 13, 14, 16. By the time you're 18, you're supposed to be running a business that's collecting about 10K a month, 100K a year probably. And then by the time you're 19, 20, by the time you're getting into your 20s, you're supposed to be touching your first million. You're supposed to be owning a house, living by yourself in an apartment, just having more than what should be expected. There is not enough time to achieve all of that. I don't care what you say. For us normal people, we don't have enough time to achieve all of that. Yes, there are 24 hours in a day. Most of those hours are spent sleeping, and most people just procrastinate. But then, honestly, people work hard. I like to believe that a lot of people work hard. And it's just to achieve so many unrealistic things. Like, for example, this whole thing of being 20 and living on your own, having your own apartment, and just supporting yourself. If you are capable of doing that, I applaud you. But for us living in the real world, with the economies being what they are, with life being what it is, it's not possible. Especially for people that are trying to break out of generational habits and generational curses, right? For us that are trying to break out of generational curses and not live the way our parents lived. Like our parents, I like to believe our parents did the best they could, and I want us to appreciate everything our parents did, right? But our parents also have a tendency of, and I'm saying this, not all parents, but our parents have a tendency of needing us to be better than what they were. And that feels like it started everything. It started at the core when your parents tell you, you need to be better than what I was. You need to work harder than I did. You need to achieve more than I did. Because you are supposed to be better than me. And I don't think that's healthy. Like, yes, it's good to set out to do better, but doing better for yourself is I feel like is a more healthier way of seeing things than doing better just to be better than what your parents went through. Like, if your family was really, really poor or struggled in life, and you obviously grew up in a household where you were given opportunities, or they tried to give you opportunities for you to get them out of that situation, I understand. But I feel like the pressure to just do it as early as possible is what's getting to us, right? Because for me, I most of my life, I grew up with a single mom, and I remember times where she wasn't around and she was working hours, 7 days a week. She was working ridiculous hours, and I feel like my mom still does that just to provide me the best life that she didn't have, and I appreciate that, right? But there was a certain point in my life between the ages of 7 and around 12 where I could feel it, and that's not an age any child should feel that much pressure to succeed and be better in life. Between those ages, right? My mom would say things like, you need to by the time you finish high school, you need to get distinctions for all your subjects so that you can get a bursary, go to school, and have an amazing career, right? And that is a great thing in the sense, but the way she kept saying it to me felt like if I did the slightest bad thing in school, if my academics dropped even the slightest, then I was failing her and I was failing my own future. And by the time I was 13, I was depressed, I was burnt out, and I was just emotionally exhausted. Like, I was just tired. And I remember having this conversation with her, and I was telling her that I need you to stop expecting so much from me. Like, I know I am going to do great things in my life, but I need you to stop expecting certain things from me. And having that conversation with her, I'm lucky that I had a mother that really listened to my concerns about my own health, because my mother raised me to speak out when something is bothering me. That's why I'm incapable of not speaking out when I have a problem. I was raised to speak out when something is bothering me. My mother would tell me that if you don't like something, or you don't like the way something is, just say it, speak out, because keeping quiet is not going to fix anything, right? So once I had that conversation with her, she loosened her grip on me. She started understanding that I am doing my best and I'm working my hardest, and what result comes out of it is what happens. We'll figure out if it isn't the best result, we'll figure out a way forward. That is something I'm very grateful for my mom for doing, right? But most people's parents, most kids don't get that, and I feel for that. I wish that every parent could be the way my mother was. And most people don't. Most kids don't get that. And but then I feel like setting those rules for your kids, if you're a parent, and having your kids be able to tell you when they feel like life is just not the way you're planning for them to go along, is honestly great. But then, with my situation, I'm going to touch on myself, but like with my situation, even after I had that conversation with my mother, right? Certain things that happen to children while they're kids stick. So yes, I had the conversation with my mother, but I was still an overachiever. It was already in me. So I was already an overachiever. So yes, my mom backed off. She backed off. She let me do I don't understand, but she allowed me to just she allowed me to just not feel that much. Her grip on me loosened, basically, right? I was still an overachiever, right? So between the ages of 13 and 14, I was trying to achieve the impossible. Like, those are some things that really, at certain ages, you really cannot achieve, right? But I was trying to achieve the impossible. And by the time I was 17 and 18, I was burnt out so many times. I had experienced burnout so many times, and I was really depressed. And that is not a healthy place to be. So if you're in high school and you feel so much burnout to the point where you don't want to keep going with your own life because you don't see the point, then you're at a bad place. Expectations just don't come from people. They don't just come from our parents. They also come from school. Like, teachers also put unrealistic expectations for kids. Some kids are really not meant to they're not school people. It's okay not to be an academic person. Like, this thing of expecting children to everybody in a school to be an academic person is not a realistic thing. Some people are not academic people. So this thing of having kids put, like, you all need to pass, like, this whole thing, because back in my grade 12 year, we had this thing where all the grade 12s were aiming for 100% pass rate, and it was fun and realistic. It was not realistic, actually. It was fun to think about, but it wasn't realistic, in the sense that the chances of having an 100% pass rate, especially knowing that there are kids that struggle, it wasn't realistic. And I feel like that also puts so much pressure on so many kids. Yes, it was meant to be an encouraging thing, but it also put so much pressure on so many kids that I can't fail because I'll be letting the rest of my class down. That is not an okay thing to experience. And grade 12 is one of the hardest years matriculants have to go through. We shouldn't be making it harder for them, honestly. Anyway, I'm almost 20, right? And I was having a conversation with my friend yesterday, and she's like, Jabu, do you realize that we're almost 20 years old? Like, bro, we're almost adults. Like, 18 is an adulting age, but 20 is, I feel like 20 is such a huge milestone. You're stepping into the second decade of your life. And I reply to her and I say, I realized it. I realized that we're almost 20 because I have 4 months before I am 20 years old. And she just went radical on me. She just went radical on me. She's like, damn, you are worse, because I realized it hit me that in 4 months I will be 20 years old. And I started thinking, what have I achieved? Right? What have I achieved? And I realized nothing that I am proud to be like, I've achieved this and I'm proud of this. And that is scary because I have worked on so many things in my life, and to think that I have yet to achieve anything worth admiring is insane. And that got me thinking, why am I not proud of anything I've done so far? Why? Because it's nothing compared to what I've seen on social media. That's the problem, right? I have seen that the amount of comparison, whether you agree with me or not, or whether you're like, I'm not that person, you've done it at some point in life, whether it's subconsciously or consciously. You've done it at some point where You did something and then you saw something on social media like, damn, this person did it better than me. And therefore, your achievement for doing that certain thing wasn't worth it. You failed because somebody else did it better than you. And that's the problem. Because the fact that you didn't succeed to that person's level doesn't mean that you didn't succeed at all. And that's something I'm trying to unlearn. And I'm trying to unteach myself that I don't need to go at the same pace as everybody else. And I don't need to just live my life at the same pace as everybody else. And having said that, this year I took a gap year. It wasn't planned. It was very much needed. And I had no plan going into my gap year. Therefore, I had no idea what I was going to do for 365 days of the year. I had no idea how I was going to spend most of my time. And having experienced that just threw me off. Like, it threw me off because I am a planned person. I go according to structure. I function through structure. If there's no structure, I fall apart. And with that said, the first 4 months of this year were completely wasted for me. The first 4 months of this year were completely wasted, mainly because from January, I spent way too much time in bed watching Netflix or TV. I spent way too much time on my phone. I spent way too much time by myself, and not interacting or socializing with anybody led to so much procrastination, so much depression, and just so much dread that I am wasting my life. And it hit me very late in the year that I need to get up and just do something, because honestly, it sucked. It sucked not having a plan. And that's something I feel people don't appreciate about school. School gave you structure, and it gave you a purpose. If we all had nothing to do for the whole year, I realized that if I had literally nothing planned for the whole year, my life could literally just fall apart. And then that's where it came in, that why do I feel so bad about not doing anything productive? Because why? The pressure to succeed, the pressure to be constantly working towards something, right? And I feel like we shouldn't be that bad. Like, taking a gap year is meant to be a year for you to self-reflect, figure out what you want in life. And I did figure out what I want. I figured out what career I wanted to go through. I figured out who my friends were. I figured out what I needed for myself in my life. And I figured out so many things, right? But I also lost certain parts of myself, right? Because in having gone through the year that I went through, I felt like I was falling behind everybody else. And it made me feel like I couldn't talk to anyone. It made me feel like I was just alone for most of the time. And that sucks, because when everybody's living life and it feels like they're going on with their lives and their lives are progressing and yours is just at a standstill, it makes you feel like you're wasting your life. And that's such a bad thing to view yourself as. And I started thinking to myself, how many people couldn't get out of this? Because my version of trying to break whatever cycle I'm in was actually starting this podcast. It was getting a part-time job. It was starting my own business. And in doing that, I started letting myself feel free. And in doing all of these things, right, I took away the pressure of everybody else. I blocked everybody else out. And then now I just started focusing on what I wanted to achieve and not at the pace that everybody wanted me to achieve things at. So I just feel like we really need to stop losing ourselves in the pursuit of trying to be better than everybody else or trying to be at the same level as everybody else. Okay, so I feel like the video is becoming a little bit way too long for YouTube. But if you want to listen to the rest of the podcast and hear from my friends and what they have to say on this entire topic, you can come listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and maybe YouTube Music. I'm really not sure about that last one. I'm still working on it. If you've ended up this far, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and just share and comment your opinions on the first episode. If there's anything you guys feel like I should change. And I will see you guys every Friday at 5 p.m. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.